Yeah, little red light's going, isn't it? Does that mean if I go over to my PC, it says upcoming? I'm not upcoming. No, here I am. I can hear myself. Sweet! Hello, people, and welcome. I say people. Nobody will be around here yet. Let me grab the link from YouTube. Shove it in Discord so Zibbert can see that I've started. Maybe he's here already. I don't know. Maybe subscribe to the channel or something. Stick it in the Discord. Okay, I am live. Welcome, welcome to Eventide and Morningtide. Is that right? Eventide and Morningtide? Yes, these sets dropped without much warning, didn't they? All of a sudden, I felt they were a little early, but certainly we didn't get any spoiler season. Boom, and they were all there, weren't they? In the game, there was an update available. So we're staying in Lorwyn, aren't we? We had Lorwyn, Shadowmoor, Lorwyn Eclipsed, two more Lorwyn sets. I don't mind the fact we're getting two sets. These are the small sets, aren't they? We had Lorwyn, was a big set. I'm talking about in paper here. Was a big set of cards, and then Morningtide was the small set associated with it. Then we had Shadowmoor, and in paper that was a big set, and the set associated with that was Eventide. That was a small set. So we're getting two small sets in paper. We get about 300 cards, 316 cards there. You can see at the bottom of the screen. How many of that is? Six alt art cards. Is that a lot? It doesn't seem like a lot. Not that we really care, I suppose. But yeah, 316 cards, which just seems kind of comparable, really, to the size of the last set. Lorwyn Eclipse, I believe, was about 270 cards, wasn't it? Shadowmoor was about 270 cards, I want to say. My brain's telling me 269. I don't know if that's true. Hey, I can check that, actually, can't I? Let's have a look. Lorwyn Eclipse. How many cards are in there? 300, apparently. 270. There we go. So getting these two sets together, I assume they've made all of the cards in the sets from paper. Because they announced they were going to do that, didn't they, a little while ago? So getting these two small sets is about the same size as getting the big set. So a full set release. Let's go and have a look at some of the stuff to do with the set. Want to do every so often. Didn't know if anyone was going to be around, but I see Zibbert's here. But I don't have Sarah today. Sarah is in bed asleep, because of course she is. It's 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. That's a very sensible thing to do. Things saying this person's in the chat and that person's in the chat and this person said this. So might have to try and remember to do that myself. Which I will be more or less successful with. Delete as applicable. Yeah, I think probably less successful with knowing me. But we'll see how it goes along. This release brings two new sets, Morningtide and Eventide. New mechanics. Chroma is a numbered evergreen. Chroma tracks the number of gem swaps of a specific colour performed by a player during a match and is associated with after the swap. Maybe that's a good thing. Chroma is always started from the beginning of the match. This, on a conceptual level, I kind of like this. I kind of like that at the start of the match, your chroma count is set, and it immediately starts counting up. You have to work very hard to tick that number up, usually, and it's almost certainly not worth it. Yes, another round. We'll get to you. You're a good level card, but most level cards suck, don't they? And then beyond that, we had cards like Boost. Now, Boost and Speed from Aetherdrift, they would count up permanently, but they wouldn't start counting from the start of the match. You weren't able to start building up your speed value with boost until you'd actually played one of the cards. So conceptually, I like the fact that there's a number that's just counting up from the start of the game. You don't have to play a card to kick it off. And your cards just, in theory, get better and better as the game goes on. So, I mean, and this is all really a review of of the deeper facets of the mechanic. It's got really nothing to do with how you count the number at all. I'm not really interested in how you count the number. It's the fact that you make swaps to make the number go up. I feel like that's not going to be very good because, of course, you're not counting all of your cascades and things. And, of course, when we get to the specifics of the cards, we will no doubt find that each individual card that Webcore have designed with the mechanic also sucks because that's just how they design cards. But the idea of a number starts counting up at the start of the match, just always goes up, never goes down, and you don't need to do something to trigger it off. I like that. I'd like to see more mechanics that work like that in the future. I've always thought myself that you could just have a mechanic that like counts the turn number, you know? If it's turn 3, then your level value is 3 on the card. And if it's turn 5, it's 5 on the card. I've always thought that you could do that kind of thing, you know? And this might be the first step towards doing that kind of thing. Because you kind of want that. You don't want cards to be ultra powerful on turn 1, because then people win on turn 1, don't they? That's not really what you want from a game. I know Goz likes to talk about, we're playing solitaire. Oh, who's in? All kinds of people seem to be in. Yeah, okay, hello people who are in. I don't know if you're Magic the Puzzle Quest playing people, but if you're not, you're probably going to find this incredibly boring. But if you are, you know, stay around. What on earth was I talking about? Level counters, that's what I was talking about. No, I completely lost my thread there. Shall we move on to kinship? Level counters. It will come back to me. Let's move on to kinship, and anything what I wanted to say about Chroma will come back to me, I'm sure. Well, of course, we know about kinship. Kinship is a mechanic that we've already had. Anyone care about kinship? I mean, I've noticed it when I've been mastering cards, but you know, anything that's relevant when you're mastering cards is basically irrelevant for the purposes of the game as a whole. I suppose I'd just like to talk about the whole typal theme, really. I gather that we call it typal now and not tribal. I gather that's the term that Wizards of the Coast are using for decks that are built around a certain creature type. And I feel like yes, it's been a bit of a failure for reasons that I've got into before. You know, you only have 3 different creatures on the battlefield. You can't build up a big swarm of creatures inherently in the game of Magic Puzzle Quest like you can in Paper Magic the Gathering. And, you know, a typal deck, you know, a goblin deck or an angel deck, is anyone actually building those? I feel like nobody's building them. We have a couple of events where you have to play typal, and I don't know about you, but I just put you know, 1 single creature in my deck, and it's a Harbinger, and it just fetches. I play 1 and it fetches the next one, and it fetches the next one, and then I win the game with something else. Archangel Elspeth, if you're interested. Why not? So actually building typal decks is a bit of a non-starter, I think. I don't know if anyone's doing it out there. I certainly haven't really heard about anyone doing it. Because why would you struggle to fit 3 different goblins into a deck when all goblins suck, and you know, you could be playing with a Loot here and a Dragonhawk there, and you know, what type even is Loot? I don't even know what type Loot is. Is he a beast? He's probably a beast, isn't he? He's not an octopus rogue like Marvo. He's not an enchantment horror like Overlord of the Flood Pits. Those are the creatures that I use most of the time. They're not going to fit into a Typal deck anytime soon, are they? So, yeah. So, I can't really hide my disappointment straight from the off that we're staying in Lorwyn. You know, I mean, I've been a bit of an advocate for playing blocks in the past. Civet says outlaw decks are a little more plausible since it's 5 creature types all grouped together. I guess, I mean, I do see Gideon, he likes Back in Town, I think, for putting outlaws from his graveyard into play. But have we seen any Typal decks from Lorwyn block? As I say, you know, I like the idea of staying in blocks, of having a large number of sets in a block to play from, but I just feel that given that the whole of Lorwyn is based around creature types, and that central idea is a bit of a failure, which is not to say that there won't be a bunch of playable individual cards from the set. Shall we move on to Prowl? Yeah, so I mean, again, this is a creature type ability, isn't it? When a card with Prowl is in a player's hand and they control a creature on the battlefield that shares a creature type with the card Prowl, the card will gain 5 mana. I like gaining mana. I don't mind gaining mana for cards in my hand, but what are the odds? What are the odds that I'm going to have a good creature of a type with the Prowl token on it? So that's the first thing, is they have to actually make a brand new creature that has the Prowl ability on it, right? And it's got to be good. You know, most cards not good. We know that. So first of all, they've got to make a good card with Prowl, and then secondly, they've got to make a second good card that has the same creature type. What are the odds of that happening? I'm betting almost 0, you know? If they're 2, you know, mid-tier creatures, what do I care? So I'm skeptical about Prowl. I like gaining mana though. What have we got with Retrace? Now Retrace is quite powerful in paper. When a land is exiled from a player's hand, the most recent card in the graveyard with Retrace is returned to its hand. Retrace works with any type of exile action. Okay, so it's talking about exile, but only from hand. Okay, I mean, I would watch out for that. Knowing how they often implement these things, you'll probably find if you play Karn 1, Karn Sign of Urza, and you exile the top 3 of the 4 top cards from your library, it'll probably count for those as well. This isn't a very powerful effect though, is it? And it only works in its controller's turn. Okay, whatevs. It's not a very powerful effect. You've got to exile a land specifically. You get the card back from the graveyard into your hand. It doesn't cast. You've got to pay the mana for it again. So this seems like it's going to be very weak source, doesn't it? Again, you know, they've got to put it on a card that is good, that you're going to want to make again. You can see it in your mind's eye, can't you? I can already see the types of cards that they're going to make with Retrace. They're going to say things like gain 5 life and be 10 mana cost or something, you know. We'll wait and see what the better ones are like. But you know, if a mechanic is inherently weak and relies on the fact that Webcore need to make the card powerful in itself with all the other text, they almost certainly always forget to do that. So maybe we'll see one good Retrace card. I kind of doubt it, you know. I feel like we'll get with Retrace, we'll get like a 1-for-1 removal. And I'm still on my kick, I'm afraid, about 1-for-1 removal being shite at the moment. Just not being powerful enough. Maybe we'll get a Retrace Wrath of God. That might be interesting. That might be powerful enough to make me set up and take note. I don't think there was one. I mean, why on earth would they have made one of those in paper? How miserable a game. A retreat. Can you imagine going into a commander game with 6 players and one of the first cards your opponent drops in his graveyard is a Wrath of God with Retrace on it? Yeah, you'd just quit right there, wouldn't you? So I doubt we'll see anything like that. But I can conceive of cards that might be good with Retrace. And I doubt we'll get any of them. Ashling the Extinguisher. Okay, so mono black. Some mana bonuses, yeah. Some deck limits. Passive ability. At the beginning of your turn, if an opposing creature dealt damage to you last turn, convert X gems to black. X is your chroma black. Yeah, so we're locked into gem conversion here, and I never like being locked into gem conversion because desert is still a thing that exists. They still think desert should exist. They still think, Webcore still think that like conversion should be hosed, and here is a planeswalker who can't avoid being hosed by desert. I mean, not everyone's playing desert. Very few people really playing desert. It's less powerful than it used to be. Are you playing desert still, Zivert? I know Zivert likes to play a lot of lands in his Premier Grist deck with Blossoming Tortoise. But I don't think even Zivvert's playing desert. I've stopped playing desert. Again, it's still a reasonable card. It certainly hasn't been nerfed into the ground like Assimilation Ages has. But it exists, and if you come up against it with this Planeswalker, you're going to be really miserable. They kind of like doing this at the moment as well. I mean, we're still waiting for Valgavoth to become available for crystals. And Valgavoth, it was obviously kind of made as a total hoser for Grist. Of course it doesn't totally hose Grist, because Grist can do plenty of other things other than use her broken first ability. But Valgavoth certainly does completely hose the one objective in Seize the Day. So that's what I'm waiting for, really. I'm waiting for Valgavoth to become available for crystals, and then everyone will start playing in the last node of Seize the Day. And then it will get some kind of nerf, I expect. But they like making these edge case total hosers that, like, most of the time are not going to be important to you. But some of the time are just going to absolutely ruin your day. And I'm not convinced that makes for fun gameplay, to be honest. However, I suppose we ought to consider what happens if Desert doesn't get played, because it's almost certainly not going to. Some amount of conversion. I don't mind some amount of conversion. That seems okay to me, doesn't it? X is your chroma black. So you're building up, you can build up a fairly decent amount of gem conversion if you're lucky. Shouldn't take too long to get it up to 3, should it? Maybe it does. Maybe it's just a bit too slow to get it up to 3. Who knows? Ability 1, Vengeance for the Past. Destroy the top 4 cards of your opponent's library. Each player creates a fleeting elemental token. Is it going to tell us what the fleeting elemental token does? No, it is not. Okay, I think they put it in somewhere else, actually. Oh, yeah, I should have got this up on my screen before I started. Anyway, it sounds like it's going to die, doesn't it? So, where was I? It sounds like it's got imminent death or something. Go on, I'll go and have a look. I'll go over to my PC, actually. I will... Saproling of Colphenor. No, it's not that one I wanted. It's Planeswalker, Ashling the Extinguisher. I know you can't see this on the screen. This is terribly, terribly irritating. Oh, a Fleeting Elemental is a 1/1. Why does each player create a 1/1 with haste? That's very weird. I mean, there are certainly times when you might want to give your opponent a creature. We all know how irritating it is to have those objectives where you have to kill X of your opponent's creatures. So, I mean, yes, I guess. for that. Not sure I'm going to play with a mono coloured planeswalker though in a coalition event. There are definitely things going on here. Just not good enough things to make me actually want to buy the planeswalker. Cinder's Wrath deals 6 damage to target creature, then that creature has 1 or more reinforcements. That creature gains imminent death. Right, for 10, you could just kill it. Why does it have to kill it in such a rubbish way? Flamekin Atonement. Exile all cards from your opponent's graveyard. Deal X damage to... I wonder if this is another thing. I wonder if they think, when they say that, exile all cards from your opponent's graveyard, I wonder if they think to themselves, oh, this is another nail in the coffin of Grist, isn't it? I mean, I've got no way of knowing that if that is the case. That might be really horrible of me to ascribe those motives to Webcore when I don't know. But I feel like it is. I feel like they just think they can write exile your opponent's graveyard on something, and that will somehow not still make Grist by far the most powerful planeswalker in the game. Deal X damage to the opposing planeswalker. X is the number of creatures in your opponent's exile times 5, then gain that much life. Yeah. I mean, compare that. Let's think of an ability that does something a bit similar, shall we? Let's pick just out of the ether, a planeswalker whose ultimate ability like exiles cards in graveyards and deals damage and gains life. I'm just going to pick a random one. Let's say Grist. How about that? Grist's ability costs 15, I believe. Grist's ultimate. Yeah. And you get 1/1 creatures, permanent 1/1 creatures onto the battlefield. Usually quite a lot of them, but to be honest, by the time you've used Grist's ultimate, you're usually getting quite a lot of 1/1s, aren't you? And then you also get the damage and the life loss. See, why do they have to make so many planeswalkers that are so much worse than Grist? Let's assume, just for a second, I probably said all this before in a previous one, but let's assume just for a second that Grist is fine, that Grist is not unbalanced. Yeah? Which I don't believe for a second, but let's assume every planeswalker they make that's not that good, then you just throw in the bin. Yeah, I'm sure I've absolutely said this before. We haven't had a good planeswalker since a Minotaur, and that is... it's 6-7 sets ago now. It's been a very, very long time ago now. And if they were to make what... Have you noticed how long it takes for planeswalkers to actually be sold for crystals these days? If they made a really good planeswalker now, we'd all have to wait a year before they actually put it in the shop for crystals anyway. Valgavoth still hasn't turned up in the shop for crystals, has he? What set did he come along with? I know he's one of the characters in Dustmourn, but I think the Planeswalker himself was released with Lorwyn. We've still not seen Valgavoth. I'm waiting for Una, Queen of the Fae. Not because I think she's good, just because I think, I want deck slots that are associated with a Lorwyn-y type character so I can remember where I've saved my decks. But yeah, there's some interesting things. There's some conversion going on here and giving your opponent a creature. But yeah, not enough to make me buy a planeswalker. Certainly not enough to make me buy a planeswalker whose name begins with the letter A, and is therefore gonna gum up my planeswalker select menu. I might buy Vivian of the Hunt this week, because she goes at the other end, and that's some deck slots for the other end. I find at the moment what I'm doing a lot is I have a lot of different mastery decks for story mode at the moment, and if I save them all right at the far end of my Planeswalker select menu, it's not too irritating to swap around between them, because some of the time, not all of the time because of bugs, but some of the time, the last deck that you saved for story mode, when you come back to it a couple of days later, it's still there. So it's not too hard to swap between those planeswalkers at the far end of your Planeswalker select menu. Does anyone care about this? Should we move on? Let's move on to Sapling of Golfanor. Again, we kind of don't mind this one, but it's definitely falling into the it's not as good as Grist thing. What have we got? Some perfectly decent mana abilities. When your first creature attacks, create a spare bark token. I can tell you what that does, although I can't tell you show you what it is on the screen. A spare bark token says when you take damage, gain X life. X is this card's shield. Then destroy the support. Oh, it's a shield with 1 support. Okay. Well, that's rubbish then, isn't it? It doesn't gain enough life, and it doesn't have enough board presence. Fair enough. U-Strike. I mean, this is quite powerful, isn't it? Destroy a non-token, non-tree folk opposing card at random. So that's cost 9. We've got a 1-for-1 removal. And yes, I am going to say the thing about 1-for-1 removal again. But a 1-for-1 removal for 9 that will do supports but won't do tree folk. Well, we're just going to live with the tree folk thing, I think. Can anyone think of any tree folk that we really care about? Nope. If the destroy card was a creature, gain 5 loyalty and create a couple of spare bark tokens. So Nicol Bolas 1, of course. Anyone use that? Her very much. Him. I'm sorry. I'm thanking Nicola bonus for some reason. Was quite powerful back in it. When Nicol Bolas 1 was printed and we paid 9 loyalty to destroy a creature, that was a very powerful first ability. Not so much now, in the days of Grist and Dak. Oh yes, we will be coming to those lands. We will be coming to them. But very powerful first ability to destroy a creature for 9 loyalty. And now here we've got destroy a creature or a support for 9 loyalty. And in fact, if it happens to be a creature, it is a random card. And it does look like it can hit token support. So fighting your way through like Pajami tokens is probably going to be as much of a pain in the ass as it always is fighting your way through Pajami tokens. But if it happens to be a creature, you gain 5 loyalty, so you're only really spending 4 loyalty on it. Which is a steal, isn't it, for killing a creature? So, I mean, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good ability. Ability 2, cost 15. Create a sapling master plant token. Do we know what one of those is? Yes, I can tell you what that is. It says on it, it's a support with 2 shields. It says when your first creature attacks, your opponent's planeswalker loses X life. X is his support shield and has 2 shields. Okay. Create a sapling master plant token. Reinforce it 3 times. So what you're getting there is an 8 shield support that when your first creature attacks makes your opponent lose 8 life. That's certainly not very interesting, is it? For like a... Well, I want to say an ultimate ability, but for some reason this planeswalker only has 2 abilities. What the hell is that about? So we're dealing 8 extra damage when we attack. And then deal X damage to the first opposing creature. X is the number of tree folk creatures you control, including the reinforcements. Right. I mean, I would kind of prefer it if instead of creating all these rubbish spare bark tokens... Oh, tree folk cards. Right, okay, yeah. Good job I checked that, actually. Is that the spare bark token is a tree folk support and the sapling master plant is a tree folk support. So you are generating tree folk cards yourself. X damage to the first opposing creature. X is the number of tree folk cards you control, including their reinforcements, which, if you've only ever cast Wish of Kolfinor, is 4. That's not enough. If you have happened to have put a bunch of spare bark tokens in play, let's not forget the passive there. When your first creature attacks, create a spare bark token. But these spare bark tokens only have 1 shield, you know? So they're not necessarily going to hang around for very long. So for 15 loyalty, why do you really care about dealing X damage to the first opposing creature? Well, I suppose one reason is that even though the first ability is much more efficient at killing creatures, for a net cost of 4 loyalty, you don't know if it's actually going to do it. So you might end up using the Wish of Kolfanor, even though it's obviously much less efficient use of your loyalty, because you know it's actually going to affect your opponent's first creature and not just hit something at random. And then why are there only 2 abilities? We've had a couple of these recently, haven't we? There's certainly at least one Planeswalker in the last set, in Lorwyn Eclipsed, that only had 2 abilities. And you're like, why? Yeah, as I say, we're positing, for the sake of argument, for being devil's advocate, we're saying that Grist is balanced, and then we're making all these Planeswalkers that are obviously so much less powerful than Grist. I mean, this one's even the same colours as Grist. Again, 1/1 removal isn't terrible. But in these days of Grist popping a Gouter into play, you know, or even anything else, I don't know, Grist can play other things out of her graveyard with her first ability that generate card advantage. Brightglass Gearhulk, Sepulchral Primordial. I'm thinking ahead to when Gouter's gone out of standard. But she's going to find a way of generating card advantage massively from her first ability. And then all Sapling of Kolfanor is doing is killing things one at a time. It's not bad. That is a decent first ability. I would have liked that first ability a few years ago, but you know, in this day and age, with the major threat in Coalition, really the only thing I give a toss about in a Coalition event is coming up against an opposing Grist deck. But you need mass removal to deal with that. It's not good enough to be killing your stuff one at a time. Yes, okay, Zivert. I know Zivert's in the chat. I know he likes to play his own Grist deck, which is very much built around 1/1 removal. But see, it is kind of 1/1 removal. We can call things like Crow Whipcracker 1/1 removal. I don't mind calling it that. But the reason why it's not is because you, of course, get extra value out of it. You know, Swarmyard is getting multiple copies, probably, of a Crow Whipcracker out of the graveyard. Makes it a little less 1/1. And, of course, just the simple fact that Grist is pumping out her first ability, getting extra copies of these things into play. So you know, 1/1 removal is bad against Grist, and the reason why you can play 1/1 removal is because you can play it with Grist. Do you see the problem here? It's all about Grist, isn't it? You know, Grist is the problem, but also the solution. So maybe Grist is too good, you know, but I would prefer to see them really double down on this. If they really think that Grist is acceptable in the game, I would like to see them release a bunch more Planeswalkers who are that powerful. Maybe, how about just one more? Like I say, we've not had one since a Minotaur. I'm not going to say a Minotaur's not absolutely top tier, because of course she is. We've not had one since then. That was a long time, wasn't it? That's been at least a year. We've not had another Planeswalker of that kind of caliber since then. So if Grist is good, make another Grist. I am going to be talking about Grist some more when we get to whatever the black-green land is. Don't you worry. So I'll shut up about it for the moment. The greatest strategist. This is a new PvP Coalition event. Do not worry, everybody. It is not 10 charges in each node. When they first released these notes, they told us it was going to be 10 charges in each node, and we thought, well, that's just going to be an absolute slog to get through. But it is in fact 2 nodes with 5 charges on each node, One of the nodes doesn't even look too bad. Look at that upper node. Cast 5 cards with cost 12 or more. Cast 4 or more spells during a single fight. That doesn't even look like too much of a slog, really. And down below we've got a longer one. Attack 10 times during a single fight. Activate a Planeswalker ability 3 or more times. But even that doesn't seem quite as bad as like playing 5 creatures with toughness 2 or less, or destroying 5 opposing creatures. So it might not be too bad, the new coalition event. There will be some kind of, yeah, there's special nodes, but it's not going to tell us about that here, so I'm not going to dwell on it. End of the Aurora I'm just playing at the moment. It seems like an absolute nothing event to me, but I'll see when I get to the end of it. You can't, incidentally, if you're wondering, if you haven't started playing the end of the Aurora again, you can't just play the first level 5 times. I replayed the first level just to see if I could. Mostly because I couldn't be asked to like scroll through the Planeswalker select menu to select a different Planeswalker, or in fact the same Planeswalker, for Node 2. So that's why I thought, well, I'm just going to play the first level 5 times. But it won't let you do that. You don't get the points for playing the first node 5 times. Just a little point of order there. Changes and fixes, we'll have a quick scan. Blight, Overflow. Okay, they might have fixed the cards with Overflow. That would be good, because I think we've had some crashes. I think there's been some crashes reported from Leyline of the Guild Pack going nuts. So hopefully they fixed that. Oh, they mentioned Leyline of the Guild Pack specifically there as well. Okay, the hint for Clash, the hint for a Folk. Right, yeah, okay. I think that's enough of all that. Should we get on with the cards? The event supports. Zimbert says the event supports for the greatest strategist are somewhat strong. Okay, well, I don't have them here. So I'm just going to skirt over that. Remind me when I start the next part of it, when I do part 2 of this review, maybe I will go and pop them up on the screen then and look at what they do. But I can't be bothered right now. I want to crack with the cards. And here we are. Which one's which? Probably the one with the full sun. That's probably Morningtide, and that's probably Eventide. Yeah, that probably makes sense, doesn't it? Let's have a look and see what we've got. Airy oofs. Anyway, when this creature leaves the battlefield, no, oofs a tribe then. That's interesting. It's certainly not a famous tribe. Are they going to try and make oofs a tribe? Or are we going to get kinship oof? Because that certainly doesn't have any overlap. It's one thing making kinship elf, isn't it? Because that's got overlap with other sets. When this creature leaves the battlefield, what is this? Oh, okay, so we've got the persist thing. Once again, they've kind of failed to take account of the persist thing, which is that creatures can block in paper. When this creature leaves the battlefield, it deals X damage to the first opposing creature with flying. X is equal to that creature's power. Yeah, okay, whatever. This creature, this 12 mana 1/1, can't attack. How useful. When it enters the battlefield, creature gets +X +X. X is the number of creatures in play, including their reinforcements. I mean, okay, that could get quite big. At the beginning of your turn, if you control 5 or more creatures, including their reinforcements, this creature loses, can't attack. Okay. If you want to build around that, then you can. You know, I've got my Archangel Elspeth. I'm creating a lot of tokens with that. I could play this Altar Golem with it if I wanted to, and that would like kind of double up the attack power I have from my tokens. It'd be very easy to stop it having can't attack. Or I could just use the Archangel Elspeth to put more tokens in play and just not play with Altar Golem in my deck. Definitely not good enough. Ambassador Oak. When this card enters the battlefield, creates an Elf Warrior token. Right. And Skullkin, when this creature enters the battlefield, your first white creature gains persist until the beginning of your next turn. I don't really think you can give things persist. I think you really need to, like with this card, like the fact that this card having persist is pointless. I think They need to design the things with persist. Yeah, what am I going to give persist to? Well, it's only really going to be relevant on a creature with some kind of blocking ability, isn't it? But if I'm playing, I want to play a creature with a blocking ability again, I'm just going to play a good creature with a blocking ability. I'm going to play Sabsuno. I'm going to play Swans of Brillargle, or I'm going to play Vraska, aren't I? Yeah, make your own persist creature is a hiding to nothing, I think. They need to design it themselves. Archon of Justice. See, this is the kind of thing that should have persist. So, I mean, this is kind of okay, isn't it? This is a bit mid. Does this... Wow, am I going to actually move this all the way out of high shit tier? Blimey O'Reilly. I mean, it's not that good. When this creature enters or leaves the battlefield, exile a random non-token, non-land opposing card with the highest mana cost. Right, so you play it for 16 mana, you play it, and it immediately gets rid of a random thing. That's a creature or a support, but not a land. I don't really see the point in it not being a land myself, but okay. There's no need to really, when a card is lower power like this, that's when there's no need to limit the power on the card. You know, if you're going to make it like a super extra powerful card, throw in the non-land thing. But this isn't really a super extra powerful card, I'm afraid. So you put it into play, it kills a thing. Might be a support. Then it's a 4/4 blocker, so it soaks up a little bit of damage. That's not particularly interesting, but then it dies. It's actually been designed, this card. This is the type of thing I'm talking about when I'm saying you actually have to design cards. Somebody's designed this. So you put it into play, it kills a thing, it soaks up a little damage from blocking, then it dies, and then it kills something else. That's okay, isn't it? Yeah? So we've got 2 removals. For 16 mana, we've got 2 removals, and we've got a little bit of soaking up damage. We get a creature token that does a thing. And, you know, from a design standpoint, I kind of like it, because they've done some work here. It's a defender, and it's relevant that it's a defender. But yeah, like I say, in this day and age, I just don't think it's necessarily that powerful. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you'll prove me wrong out there. Maybe I will end up liking it. 2 removal spells, but I just... Yeah, I'm firmly... Myself, I'm firmly in the realm that it's mass removal or nothing these days. And mass removal might just mean... you know, not necessarily getting rid of everything, but all your cards getting rid of a lot of stuff. I know people are into, like, Fiery Annihilation, you know, for example, because that kills up 5 supports, doesn't it? And there are things like that. You know, when I say mass removal, really, I'm talking about Merciless Eviction. I mean, even Demon Furia is not enough mass removal for me these days, because it doesn't get rid of all supports, but, you know, that is mass removal. So I don't mind this, and it does get out of high shit tier, but I don't think it's good enough, because it's not mass removal. Sorry. Ashling the Extinguisher. See, I think, personally, I don't mind the fact that they are making Planeswalkers who are just legends now. I don't mind that, because that kind of plays into the whole Commander thing, doesn't it? Commander is the premier format now of paper Magic. People care about Commander more than they care about Standard. People play Commander more than they play Standard. And in Commander, of course, you are represented by a legendary creature. You have a legendary creature that you pull out of your deck, and you play that, and he affects the color identity of your cards. So we got a bit stuck here in Magic Puzzle Quest. We got a bit stuck with the whole thing with Planeswalkers, because paper Magic has kind of moved away from Planeswalkers now. You know, we are represented. We choose a Planeswalker to start our games, but they're printing less Planeswalkers in paper now and more legendary creatures. So I don't mind that our Planeswalkers that we have are just legendary creatures. What I don't like is that they also exist as legendary creatures in the game. I don't like. We had this with Reaper King, didn't we? I don't like the fact that when I say Ashling the Extinguisher, nobody's going to know whether I mean the Planeswalker or the card. And I don't think there should be that crossover. I mean, I've never thought there should be the crossover between Vanguards either. I didn't like the fact that there were Vanguards with the same names of Planeswalkers. It's not going to be a problem with Ashling the Extinguisher because the Planeswalker nobody's going to play. And I imagine nobody's going to play this card as well. What have we got? 12 mana 4/4. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's Planeswalker, destroy the first opposing creature with mana cost 15 or higher if you can't convert 4 gems to black. Again, this gets to be all the way out of high shit tier as well. This definitely gets as far as mid, doesn't it? We're destroying a creature. We probably want to be destroying an expensive creature, don't we? We probably want to be destroying a Gauta and or a Dragonhawk at 15 mana, as opposed to a little creature. It will destroy an Overlord of the Flood Pits because that's got a mana cost of 16. Won't kill a Marvo. It's not perfect, only killing the big things, but it's okay. And then you've got some convert 4. That's okay. It's not the best time to be converting just before you attack. You, of course, want to really be converting at the start of your turn. But that requires your creature to have been in play at the start of your turn. Of course, this creature has to attack anyway. Has to deal combat damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. Doesn't work if it gets blocked. So, you know, it's perfectly okay, and I'm certainly not going to play with it in a coalition event. That's not bad, is it? Straight away, we've hit 2 creatures all the way out of high shit tier. That seems quite good to me. Maybe this is going to be a much less depressing set review than the last 4 or so. What have we got here? Auntie Sniss. This creature can't block. Right. That will be a thing they bust in from paper, and of course there will be reasons for it in paper, but I reckon they probably won't really have thought about why they're writing that on cards. Let us see as we go on. This is a 4/2 for 5 mana. Okay, I mean that's already right at the top of mid-shit tier, isn't it? Being like that. Berserker, we bust it back down a little bit again, but it still gets to be in mid-shit tier, I think. This creature can't block. When a goblin or rogue creature deals combat damage to your opponent's Planeswalker, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Oh, go on, put it into play. I mean, it's still not good, is it? A goblin or rogue creature. I'll tell you what's a rogue. Marvo's a rogue. He's an octopus rogue. Isn't he? Pretty sure he's a rogue. But why do I care about having a 4/2 with Berserk, you know? That just comes back into my hand and doesn't come into play. I mean, I might not have room for it into my hand. I'm always going to have room for it in play. Well, I'm not always going to have room for it in play, am I? But I might at least have built the deck that creates room for it in play. I still play with Blood Operative regularly because he's one of the vampires I play with in the Duets of Mana that just went. Was it Tears and Memories? It's the one you've got to play. You've got to summon 8 vampires. So I still play with Blood Operative regularly, and it's, you know, it's nice. It's a creature that pops out the graveyard. It pops straight back into play, unlike this, which goes into your hand. I see what they're doing with Berserker. They're like, oh yeah, well this creature's going to come into play, and it's going to eat one of your opponent's creatures, and then it's going to die, and then you're going to get it back again. It's going to eat another opponent's creatures. I don't think it's good enough. Is it? Blood Operative has lifelink. I'd much rather have that ability than anything else. And then we've got Prowl as well. I mean, it costs 5 mana, and Prowl gives you 5 mana. So, it, you know, that's kind of making it free. So just to put it into play. If you're going to, you know, let me draw it and make it free, just let me put it sprog straight from the graveyard back into play. But, yeah, I think the fact that it comes into your hand is really the killer here. And even if it did come into play, I still wouldn't care that much. Balefire Liege. This one's confused me because Gideon noticed this one. Maybe he just didn't look too deeply into it. But Gideon pulled this one up. Hello, Gideon, if you're out there. And immediately, what he noticed immediately is that it's rare, it's 11 mana, and it's white and red. Yeah, so rare and 11 mana means Colours of Magic. And white and red we can play with Quintorius Cand, who I think is the best character at Colours of Magic at the moment. Colours of Magic has a grist problem. Like so many events have a grist problem. Commoner's Cup is crawling in grist, because grist is the best character to play in that event. Seize the Day is crawling in grist, because grist is the best character to play in that event. Grist, I don't think is the best character to play in Colours of Magic. I think Quintorius Cand is the best one. But I think the reason why Quintorius Cand is the best character to play in Colours of Magic is because of grist. It's because if you try and play fair, you will lose to a grist deck. If you play a grist deck against a grist deck, then you can probably outplay Greg. But unfortunately, if you get unlucky, then, you know, you're all playing the same cards. If the other grist just gets lucky with his cascades, gets a lot more loyalty than you, then no amount of outplaying him will probably help you. So the reason why we will play Quintorius Cand, and if you're not playing Quintorius Cand in Colours of Magic at the moment, you should be, is because you can just circumvent the entire game. It doesn't matter about card advantage or anything like that. You just gain a metric fuck ton of life. Ignore everything that's going on the board. Play with a load of board sweepers. Everyone's playing No Witnesses in their Quintorius Cand decks in Colours of Magic. And here's a hint from me. Play a bunch more board sweepers as well. It doesn't even matter if they cost more than 11 mana. Play Merciless Eviction. Play Ghostway. Play a load of other board sweepers. Don't try and play the fair game of Magic that you're used to playing with your 1-for-1s and things. Just circumvent the entire game, keep sweeping the board, keep generating loyalty, win with Quintorius Cand's Ultimate. As a result, back to Balefire Liege, I don't really see why we would care. Since we are circumventing the entire game, the point of playing Quintorius Cand and Colours of Magic is we circumvent the game. Why do we want a powerful creature? I mean, I'm going to assume that this is a 6-power creature. While on the battlefield, your white creatures get +2/+2, and your red creatures get +2/+2. So I'm going to assume that this is a 6/8 creature when you play it, because it powers itself up. When you cast your first spell on your turn, if your Planeswalker's colour identity is white and red, that's Quintorius Cand, deal 3 damage to your opponent's Planeswalker, then gain 3 life. I don't see why we care about having just one. You just put this creature on the table and it's a body and it deals a bit of damage to your opponent when it attacks and it gains a tiny little bit of life. I really don't see why we care. All of the creatures that I play in my Quintorius Cand deck, I couldn't care less whether I'm attacking with them. I have Enduring Innocence, which generates loyalty, which plays into the whole theme of just ignoring the game and just playing my loyalty abilities. I have Warren of the something Sky, which mostly just draws cards. It looks like a creature that gets bigger and bigger. It looks like that. That's not what it does, because it dies. Of course it dies. Colours of Magic, everything dies on the table. Because removal is just better than creatures in Colours of Magic. So Warren of the whatever Sky it is, I can't remember the name of, it's mostly a creature that draws cards. So why anyone would want to play Balefire Liege in Colours of Magic, I don't know. But you can if you like. Ballynock Trapper. When this creature enters the battlefield, your opponent's first creature can't attack until the beginning of your next turn. You do it permanent for 9 mana. Fuck it, do it permanently. I mean, it's been a while since we've had a Sleep with the Fishes, haven't we? I mean, that's probably not even true. We probably have got like permanent lockdown things, haven't we? Does Prison Term do permanent lockdown? And then we've got that Merfolk that will disable a card. It does again become re-enabled then when it dies. But yeah, I mean, this would be bonkers at common if it just gave your first opponent's creature can't attack. But why the hell not? That's as a card that could exist in the game, a 2/2 creature that gives your opponents, and it's only your opponent's first creature. It's not like you can lock everything down. Yeah, fuck it, do it permanently. You can make it uncommon for that. I'll let you. Ballyrash Barrett. When this creature enters the battlefield, Kithkin and Soldier cards in your hand gain 1 mana. Wow, what a piece of shit. See, this is everything that's wrong with Typal as a theme when you convert it into Magic Puzzle Quest. Banishing that, return target opposing creature to the top of its owner's library. Yeah, I mean, not good enough to play, is it? A 1/1. I've got a lot of these, I've got to say. I've been doing an awful lot of mastery over the past, I don't know, couple of years, I suppose. And mostly I master terrible cards. And I've noticed that what I'm left with now in common, in blue, I've got about 2 pages, about 20, 30 cards or so of blue removal spells that are like, they're too good. And this would be another one like this. This spell is like too good for me to want to master it, because there's always much shitter cards than like this slightly ropey removal for me to master in story mode. Because of course story mode, you know what story mode's like now, it's a joke. You get like 5 opponents with 30 life, you can play anything. So you want to master the shittest stuff you can in story mode. So you don't master something like this, you don't master a bad removal spell, you'd save that for something like the Commoner's Cup. But I'm afraid I just get sick of losing to Grists who take it, Commoner's Cup seriously, so I play Grist in the Commoner's Cup, so I can't play these bad removal spells in the Commoner's Cup. So that's just the thing I've noticed. I've just noticed I've got a lot of these ropey blue removal spells, and none of them are actually good enough. So let's push the power levels up, is what I'm saying. Start making them better and better until they cause a problem. That's what I say. Well, yeah, they have no problem with just going, oh, there's a Dragonhawk. Yeah, there's a Grist. We'll make all of these things. They're all too powerful. So they obviously don't mind making something too powerful. Just start pushing the power levels of these 1/1 removal spells up. Oh, I'm so livid. This is apropos of nothing. I finally got Grubb's Command. Grubb's Command, you may remember if you saw the last set review, is the one card that I think I wanted. There may have been more, I don't know. The one card that I kind of fixated on was Grubb's Command, and it was a 1/1 removal, but it was a 1/1 removal that fetched another copy of itself. Nominally. That's what it said it did. It was a spell card Goblin. It had a Goblin type on it. And then when you played it to do a 1/1 removal with it, it would put a Goblin card from your graveyard into your hand. So immediately I clocked, I'm like, well, that does itself. If I've got a second copy of Grubb's Command in the graveyard, then when I play Grubb's Command from my hand, that will go back into my hand and I can play them in a big cycle. And in fact, I was very excited to do this in Allied Pairs this week. I thought, well, it's going to be very, very easy for me to play 6 multicoloured spells if I play with Grubb's Command then, if I'm just looping 2 of them backwards and forward. Again, you know, this is not a powerful thing to do, but it would have been a very useful thing to get around this irritating objective. Or why don't you just play with Kylox's Vault Strider, Steve? I hear you all say. Do you know what? I really hate playing with Kylox. It's so slow. The animations on it are so slow. I really hate playing with Kylox's Vault Strider. You know? And there's a lot of exiling cards from your hand. I mean, yeah, sure, okay, I should be used to that. I play with Chimmel a lot. I don't know what it is, I think. I have an unreasonable bias against Kylox's Vault Strider towards Chimmel, even though they're very similar cards. And I can see why people like one and not the other. In a vacuum. If you were to ask me, you'll travel back in time and ask me, and I'm sure I probably said this in the set review at the time, I would say, if I hadn't played with either of them, that I prefer Vault Strider. But having played with both of them, I'm a Chimmel man through and through. Anyway, Grubb's Command doesn't do that. When you play Grub's Command, it will not fetch a goblin spell from your graveyard. I imagine it fetched a goblin creature. I don't know. I wasn't playing with any goblin creatures. Obviously I wasn't. I wanted to play a string of Grub's Command. But it won't do that. And do you know what? I think they're not even going to fix it, personally. I think they're going to do that bullshit thing that Octagon always used to do, where they say, yeah, it's working as intended, and then they'll change the wording on the card to say, return a goblin creature to your hand. I'm glad I got it first pull out of an elite pack. I'm glad I only spent 400 crystals on it, because obviously I'm a bit livid that it doesn't work as written. But, you know, it's not the end of the world, because like I say, I only really wanted it for shits and giggles. It's not like I'm going to be taking Merciless Eviction out of my Coalition deck anytime soon. Battlegate Mimic. What do we got here? When you match a white or red gem for the first time during your turn, this creature's power toughness becomes 4/2 and gains first strike until end of turn. I mean, this needed to be a lot bigger, didn't it? I think in paper what happens, I think it changes size when you play a spell of that type. But turning a 2/1 into a 4/2, it doesn't even affect base power and toughness. So if you play 2 copies of it, its power and toughness just become 2/2, 4/2, don't they? I think so. How about how about if power and toughness becomes 40/20? Do you see? All of a sudden that's too powerful, isn't it? My point really is you can keep the same design of a card and you can make it relevant. What would we make it if we wanted to make it more sensible? How about like 3 times? How about we make it like 12/6 power? And it would have to be base power and toughness being 12/6. If you match a white and red gem for the first time, so that would be okay, wouldn't it? That wouldn't be too good. But yeah, 2/1 into a 4/2, obviously crap. Just have a look at the card and just make it a bit more relevant, why don't you? Eventide Alchemist. I've got to say, looking at these 2 cards after the other, I really do have a bias against the Lorwyn art. It's the lovely pretty kitkin in the nice meadow, and the a bias towards the horrible, disgusting. What's the guy's name in Toy Story? Is it Sid or Spike? Who's the guy who tortures his toys in Toy Story? Anyway, this looks like the type of thing that he might have built. I really have a bias against this type of artwork. I love the artwork we've got in the game. You know, there's that elemental thing that looks like a moth spider when you load the game up. I like that artwork. I like the weird headless horseman that you get in the background now in the menu system. I really like the Eventide art. I don't so much like the Morningtide art. Let's have a look at this card. Whenever you would take damage, you take X less damage instead. X is the number of cleric creatures you control. There's certainly a place in the game for something that makes you take less damage, isn't there? We've had Orbs of Warding. I mean, honestly, there's been a use for Orbs of Warding in the past. I mean, we used to play with all kinds of rubbish spells back in 2016 when there were virtually no cards in the game. But what have we had recently? Purity. Purity's reducing the amount of damage that you take. There's room in the game for cards that reduce all the damage that you take, but they need to be a lot better than this one. Batwing Broom. I don't even know what the hell's going on that artwork. Shouldn't I be able to click on? Oh yeah, I can. Well, I clicked on it like 3 times and it didn't zoom in the artwork. Have they fixed the thing? No, they haven't fixed the thing. I was wondering if they fixed the thing where you can still, yeah, grab the card and do that, even though it's no point. Because they put that in for foils, didn't they? And I feel like I'm running into, like if I scroll through, yeah, it's still catching every so often, isn't it? When I scroll through a big list of cards, I feel like it's happening a little less. But you can see it is still happening. Yeah, you grab the card instead. And of course, you don't want to do that. Why would anyone want to grab a card and scroll it around if it's not a foil? Or even if it is a foil. Batwing Broom, what have we got? If there are 6 or more white gems on the board, your creatures gain prevent damage. Well, we had a cycle of these in the last set. Was it the last set or maybe the set before that? Yeah, no, it was definitely the last set. How would I do this? They want to associate. So I don't like the fact that there are 2 effects on this card and they might fail. They probably won't fail because 6 or more gems of a colour is... That's a below average threshold, yeah? 7 is the average, isn't it? So it's a below average threshold, but you don't really want it to fail at all, really. How about, right, when you cast this spell, your creatures gain prevent damage for X turns, where X is the number of white gems on the board. Boom, there it is. Yeah, turn it into a much more powerful effect. Have it so it doesn't fail, but keep the theme, yeah, of it, you know, caring about colours. That's what I'd do. Yeah, so prevent damage until your next turn, yeah. Not long enough, and it might fail. We don't like it. If there's 6 or more black gems, each player loses X life up to 10. Garbage. Exile the first card from your opponent's graveyard, then create a white spirit token. Again, you really have to scale this up. Really have to scale this up. I reckon in paper this probably chooses a card as well, doesn't it? And they've done the thing where, well, we can't be bothered to let you select a card from your opponent's graveyard, so let's just do the first card. It's a massive, massive reduction in power, but it saves us a bit of time. And anyway, nobody gives a shit about the commons in the set, so let's just make it arse. Save ourselves a lot of work and just really phone our jobs in. Hire Webcore if you're watching. I didn't get my my preview card again, yeah? And in fact, none of the other content creators got their preview cards again. So if you could just check your system's working there, yeah? Because I haven't had a preview card in several years now. I think they just must be falling down the back of the sofa or something. Belligerent Hatchling. This is a Blight Gem thing. Is anyone excited about Blight Gems? I had an idea for Blight Gems. I haven't actually got around to building it yet because I don't really care. But back in the very early days of Magic, when we used to play with very shit cards because it was 2016, I had this deck. I had this beatdown deck that used to play with Days Undoing. Okay? Stay with me on this. Why would you play a beatdown deck in blue? Well, the reason was there are 3 different 2/1 creatures you could play for 3 mana. Right? And the thing about Days Undoing is that, I mean, back in the day, it only cost 6 mana to cast a Days Undoing. I'm reliably told, I don't actually remember that myself, but I'm reliably told the original version of Days Undoing just used to cost 6 mana. So I would just draw a metric fuck ton of cards, and then play a lot of very, very, very cheap creatures. I mean, a lot of them. And like I say, Days Undoing was really key to that because the creatures that I was playing, they'd all cost 3 mana. They were 2/1s. One of them was that Scab. That Scab that used to drain mana, obviously not ideal. And then one of them was that that Phyrexian Void thing that used to bounce things, but never used to bounce things because there were never enough Void gems in play. And I think the other one might have been Bonded Construct. Like I say, it was a very, very janky deck. But anyway, what I have noticed about Blight is that there are some quite powerful 3 mana creatures. Moonshadow is a 3 mana creature that creates a lot of Blight gems and reinforces itself as a result. There's a 3 mana 5/4 that creates a bunch of Blight gems. There's also, I believe, a 3 mana 4/4 that does something with Blight. Do you see where I'm going with this? I feel like you could probably make a Blight beatdown deck. Use Days Undoing as your engine because it would draw a ton of cards. Days Undoing always handy in the fact that it like shreds mana out of your opponent's hand as well because it makes them draw a new hand of cards. And then in any of these moon-shadowy creatures that you draw, they immediately get played by the paltry amount of mana that Days Undoing generates. Because, of course, Days Undoing is not really an especially powerful card in this day and age. And then, I don't know, maybe try throwing Windfall into it. I really don't know, but it occurred to me the other day that you could do that kind of thing with Blight Gems. Which is to bring us back to Belligerent Hatchling, which won't fit in that deck, and I'm almost certain I don't care about it. Look at this though, 9 mana 6/6 first strike. I mean, that's proper high mid shit tier, isn't it? Does that get to be low high shit tier? I don't think that should be low high shit tier. I think that's high mid shit tier, to be honest. 9 mana for a 6/6 with first strike. And then it does some Blight Gem stuff. But mostly it's a 9 mana 6/6. But anyway, all that stuff about the Moonshadow deck and the Days Undoing, that has nothing to do with this. do people like Blight? Again, I've not seen anyone... I've not fought against like a Blight theme deck. So I don't think people are doing it. But maybe they are. I don't know. Blight Soil Druid. 1/2. Activate 1. Oh, we're back with the Activate 1s. Of course, that was a major theme of the last set. Activate 1. We all loved those Activate 1 cards. Activate 1. You lose 1 life, then convert 2 gems to green. I mean, clearly nothing written on this card is worth anything. I don't even like the art either. That is a worthless card from top to bottom, isn't it? So 5 mana 3/3. When this creature enters or leaves the battlefield, create a Blight Gem. Not powerful enough. It's not a 3 mana 4/4, is it? It's a 5 mana 3/3. So it's probably somewhere in mid shit tier. Oh, I feel like I've made a rod for my own back by putting that as high mid shit tier. I remember making a load of 5/5s that were like 14 mana, like mid shit tier, didn't I? I don't even know where that goes. Boldweir Heavyweight. So what have we got here? 16 mana 8/8. That's fairly fat. When this creature enters a battlefield, put the first creature from each player's library into play. Right. Clearly too dangerous to actually play with. Is there a way of doing that? Got my game designer's head again on again. I mean, kind of not really. The whole point of playing with Stroke of Midnight, you know, when you know you have to kill your opponent's creatures, the reason why you're playing with cards like Stroke of Midnight to give your opponent creatures is because they might not be playing with any in their deck. So, I mean, you'd never want to just give them a creature. You'd never want them to just go, okay, here you go, have a Galter. But even if there was some, you know, restrictive way that you could pull that Galter out and, I don't know, turn it into something rubbish, like do a humility on it and turn it into a 1/1 with no abilities or something. Even if you were doing that, you still wouldn't really want to do that because it's not a guaranteed way of giving your opponent a creature because he might be playing with no creatures in his deck. So I think cards like this are just a non-starter from a design point of view. Boldweir Intimidator. Cowards can't block warriors. That's what it says in paper. I mean, of course they can't. Each opposing coward creature gains can't block, while creatures, of course, can't block anyway. And then activate 2. I mean, that's better than activate 1, isn't it? Certainly. All opposing creatures gain the coward subtype. Again, there's not much you can do with a card that's been designed for paper around the fact that creatures block. And you put it into a game where creatures can't block. There's not much you can do with it, is there? There you go, 14 mana 5/5. Was I making those mid shit tier, or were they low mid shit tier? They're probably, yeah, it was probably low mid shit tier, wasn't it? Because of course there's a lot of space down there below that in low shit tier, isn't there? Bosk Banneret. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, we've seen one of these before, haven't we? We saw the Kithkin one. This one's even worse. So reduce the cost of each Treefolk and Shaman card in your hand by 1. I mean, seriously, if you build a combo deck out of this, because of course if you play 5 of these, then it makes any boss bannerets you have in your hand, completely free, doesn't it? So if you can build a combo deck out of this useless, low-power piece of shit card, then my hat goes off to you. Please try and build some kind of infinite combo engine. You need to draw with something else, you know, and it's almost certainly impossible. Go on, Ziv, prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong and build a combo deck out of that. I'd love to see it. Terrible card. Anyway, Bramblewood Paragon. What do we got here? When another warrior creature enters the battlefield and you control that creature, gets +1/+1. Right? I mean, it could just do itself as well. Less words. Then buff creatures you control gain trample. Yeah, just low power. Bright Hearth Banneret. Beginning of your turn, the first elemental or warrior creature in your hand gains 3 mana. Okay. No, that's too narrow, obviously. When this card is discarded, your first creature gets +1/+1. Okay, this is obviously going to be a theme. What's that? Oh, is that going to be like reinforce? What I'm wondering is where this clause has come from. When this card gets discarded, your first creature gets +1/+1. There was a creature ability, maybe just a card ability, maybe not a creature ability, in some of the Lorwyn sets called Reinforce, and it looked a bit like cycling. You would, if you had the card in your hand, you would pay some mana or something, discard the card, and unlike cycling when you drew a card, what the Reinforce effect would do is it would put +1/+1 tokens on things. If that's what this is, I don't know why they didn't make it like cycling. Yeah? Because we had Warp, didn't we? We've had Warp, which is a bit like cycling before. Hello, how you doing? Sam's come to see me. Hello, have I woken you up by shouting? No. Oh, okay. Good. Oh, good. What time is it? Oh, God, look, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I bet I've woken her up by shouting and she's too polite to say anything. Where was I? Yes, they could have done this like cycling. They could have said, you know, if you exile this card from your hand, pay some mana. I mean, with an effect like getting +X/+X, then fuck it, just have it for free when you exile it from your hand. Because that puts it under your control. Hard to discard something, easy to just pick up a card that's in your hand and exile it. And then give a creature +X/+X. And yes, you could give it +X/+X, and no need to give it +1/+1, which is an amount we don't care about. Frankly, giving something +4/+4 is probably an amount we don't care about it. So yeah, why not? If they were going to do Reinforce, put it under your control. Don't make it when you have to discard it with something else. And make it a much bigger effect. As for the gaining 3 mana, yes, I kind of don't mind in this day and age where, you know, Grist is blowing all your supports off the board. I kind of don't mind creatures that do the land thing. You know, a few years back, I would want to start my game by playing a conversion land. You know, these days we like conversion lands a little less because of fucking desert. But there are lands that just generate mana now. There are the filter lands, your Graven Cairns and your Firelit Thickets and your Sunken Ruins. And also your Swarm Yards and things like that just generate mana. You would want to start with one of those in the olden days. Start your game with that, and then once you got your economy going, move on to your actual cards that actually win the game. And I would always want to play with supports back then because it was easier to kill creatures than it was to kill supports. So your supports felt a bit safer on the board. But of course, you know, as I say, in this day and age, we have to worry about Demolition Field and we have to worry about Grist. Your supports are just a little less stable on the board. So I don't mind creatures that look like lands, but it has to be a lot better than we've had a 7 mana. I can't remember what it's called, but we've had recently a 7 mana creature. It was a 1/1 and it converts 3 gems to red at the start of your turn. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I don't mind it. That one wasn't powerful enough because obviously it's not, because, you know, you put that alongside one of your clue lands, your Meticulous Archive, or your I can't remember the name of any of them. You know, the ones from MKM, anyway. Obviously, you're going to want to convert 4 gems and get a investigate token. More than you are 3 gems. But I don't mind the idea of having creatures that like generate you some mana, whether it's through conversion or whether it's just through mana. I'd rather it be through conversion and we didn't have desert, but you know, to play the hand you're dealt, don't you? But this is obviously too narrow a card. Barenton Bombardier. When this card is this, yeah, this is definitely one of those reinforced cards I was talking about in paper. When this discard is discarded, your first creature gets +2/+2. Okay, so there is at least a +X/+X effect on there. There it is. Sorry, yes, it was the previous card. But I don't see why it can't just be exiled. Like I said, for a low power effect like this, and it is a low power effect, it could literally just be for 0 mana. You exile it from your hand and pow, a creature gets +X/+X. That might be quite interesting, mightn't it? As it stands though, bit of a waste of everybody's time. When this creature attacks, are you ready for this? Your first creature gets +0/+1 permanently. Oh yes! None of you +0/+1 until end of turn. This is a very powerful effect, I'll have you know. What do we got here? Cash Raiders at the beginning of your turn. 4 mana 4/4. Okay, alright, yeah. Well, we're nudging up into mid-shit tier for a 4 mana 4/4, most definitely, aren't we? Return the non-token support with the lowest mana cost you control to your hand. Ah, right, I see. It's one of those things, isn't it? The reason why its power and toughness is above the curve for its cost is because it has a negative effect on you, but it's not enough to trouble the scorer. Again, it would have to be like a 4 mana 10/10 or something. That would be alright, wouldn't it? 4 mana 10/10, that wouldn't be too powerful. Because of course it's got that negative effect that it bounces a support. Oh, it doesn't do it straight away. It does it every turn at the beginning of your turn. Yeah, fuck it. Make that a 4 mana 10/10. That'll be fine. But it fucks up your support, so that really limits how you play in a certain way. Yeah, I don't mind that card. Well, I don't mind my card. I hate that card. Call the Skybreaker. Okay, so this is Retrace. Jesus Christ. And so we can immediately see how bad Retrace is going to be, aren't we? So 20 mana. What's this going to be? Maybe this is like a 20/20 creature. 10/10. I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a 6/6 or something. We're paying 20 mana for a 10/10 creature. Hello, you. Say hello to the nice people.
Hello.
There you go. And then we've got Retrace on it. So, of course, when we exile a land from your hand during your turn, if this card's in your graveyard, it comes back to your hand. This 20 mana card comes back to your hand and makes you pay another 20 mana for it. I mean, we do live in a world where there are cards that generate Umbral Mantle straight away, I'm thinking to myself, gives you 20 mana every turn. But that, you know, that's not making Call the Skybreaker a good card. The good card in that scenario is Umbral Mantle, isn't it? And you play better things with it. I can't see this being good. I absolutely can't see this being good. But 10/10's it is quite large, 10/10. I don't know. I doubt it. There might be some reason why you might want to play it. Like I say, it would need to be getting its power from other cards. But there might still be you know, we found this all the time, don't we? Sometimes you'll play a combo deck and you play like a 2-card combo, which you play both cards and you immediately kill your opponent, but one of the cards is a bad card. Yeah? That happens all the time, you know? You never want to play one of the cards on your own, but oops, if you play it with in combination with another one, you immediately win the game. That's not going to happen with this, because this I can't see how this is going to be part of a 2-card combo that immediately wins the game. But it might be part of some kind of engine deck. Well, this is the worst card in the engine. But what you want to do, you've got with all your other cards that are much better than it, that are generating value, what you really need to do is put 10/10 flyers into play. I don't know. Yeah, other cards are going to be necessary to make that good. What have we got here? 10 mana 6/6. We're power creeping a bit, aren't we? We've got a 10 mana 6/6 here. This is because of Blight, isn't it? The Cash Raiders, I'm not sure we can call that power creep, can we? Because they're blowing up all your supports, those ones. But, you know, your 6/6, your 5 mana 3/3s, and your 9 mana 6/6s. It's not. People don't really call it power creep. When you power creep, when you make the worst cards in the game better, people don't really call that power creep. But that's where power creep should happen in this game. And maybe that's where it's happening. But this is because of Blight, isn't it? It's because this card has Blight on it. And Blight is supposed to be a negative thing. I mean, I find myself playing with some Blight cards in the Commoners' Cup, because the Commoners' Cup runs every bloody week, and I hate it. And I'm mastering cards in it. I'm sure I will master this card in... Oh, well, no, I can't master this in the Commoners' Cup. I'll master this in Silver Jewel. And I'll be quite happy to have a 10 mana 6/6 that I'll throw into my Grist deck, I think. But yeah, I don't think Blight has really been a particularly interesting thing in the game. For me, anyway. Cantankerous Thirst. There are 6 or more black gems on the board. A random opposing creature gets -3/-3. Now, if we go back to my earlier idea, do you remember what I was saying? What I was saying is that your creatures get prevent damage for X turns, where X is the number of gems on the board. You could do that here again, couldn't you? A random opposing creature gets -3/-3 for each black gem on the board. It'll still be a bit crap. Actually, it's quite good for like a shit tier card, isn't it? You know, I'd say it's not good enough for mass removal, but fuck it, why not? Spread around a bunch of -3/-3s. Don't just give one single creature -3/-3 until end of turn as well. And then 6 or more green gems get +3/+3. Yeah, fuck it, I like my card. I don't like this card, I like my card. Exclusive content. This is interesting, isn't it? So I was not looking forward to this happening. Somebody in the forums immediately jumped on this. When they made the original friendly colour filter lands, I'm going to carry on calling them filter lands. I don't think this terminology has caught on at all, because of course they don't really filter anything. But I don't know. Has anyone thought of a better name for them? They are filter lands in paper, and that's why I've been calling them filter lands, because that's what they are in paper, in the Shadowmoor. We got the friendly colour ones, and immediately somebody on the forum said, well, can we have the enemy coloured ones? And I thought, oh, God, no. Of course we should not get the enemy coloured ones, because that means that Grist gets one, and that means that Dat gets one. And those two guys especially, that guy and that gal, do not need any more help with more powerful stuff. And they know what they're doing here, because look, again, this is exclusive content. You can't get this out of boosters. You'll have to pay for this card. I'm sure they'll put it into the boosters when the next set releases. But just at the moment, it does not look like you can open this card out of boosters. So, So we're going to be getting all 5 of these. We'll talk about Grist when we get to the Grist one. Again, I've got to say, you know, I like some of the design concepts that are going on here. You know, it's too powerful. 8 mana for 8 mana. Every single turn is too powerful. 15 mana for 8 mana is definitely way too powerful. But you know, I don't mind the fact that what they kind of say, what they're trying to say with a card like this is that planeswalkers who are a little less powerful, yeah, are getting a bit more of a boost. Yeah, Dakon hasn't got one of these. Yeah, Dakon can't take advantage of that. He's incredibly powerful. And Minotaur can't take advantage of that. That system unfortunately falls down when you realise that Grist and Dak have got access to one of these cards. What we really need, I think Zivert said this the other day, what we really need, and of course he's right, is something for mono planeswalkers, really. Yeah, something that makes mono planeswalkers really silly. But then again, you've still got a problem there because there's a big imbalance with the power levels of mono level planeswalkers. You know, is that most of them suck, and then Liliana of the Veil is way too good. I kind of hate Liliana of the Veil because she's too boring to play with, but she's really terrifying to play against. She's definitely too powerful, but she's just such a pain in the arse to play with. And Teferi Chroniclast, we've got very, very powerful. Renan Realmbreaker, very, very powerful. Pajami, don't rule out Pajami, you know, he's still a very powerful mono planeswalker. So this is kind of the thing. You can't really say as a blanket sweeping statement, well, all of the monos are bad, so we should give the monos cards they can put in their deck that make them much better. Because yes, it's going to make all your Chandras better, but it's also going to make all of your really broken Lilianas and Pajamis better, isn't it? Let's talk about Cascade Blast specifically. I mean, I don't play Dak that much. See, one thing about me is I'm very lazy and I don't like rebuilding decks. So my most powerful planeswalkers, like Grist and like Dak, what I tend to do is I tend to use them for the small number of events where they really, really sing. Because I don't want to be using them all the time, because I'd have to be rebuilding decks all the time. Now, Grist I don't really play in coalition events at the moment, currently, because he's a bit of a fire hose, you know. You get your best power out of Grist. I'm coming to this, Sivert, don't worry, I know you. I can hear you shuffling up in your seat. You get your best power in Grist playing with really, really powerful cards, but she's a bit of a fire hose then, and she wins a bit too fast. If you're playing Galta, certainly. Wins a bit too fast to play in at a coalition event. Now, Zivert doesn't play like that. He has a very control-oriented Grist deck, which plays with a lot of very small creatures. And honestly, if Grist keeps getting better, I might end up playing something like that as well. I'm not above stealing deck ideas from other good players in the game. But Dak's not really like that, you know. You can control the power that Dak has. In fact, Madren is a huge fan of playing Dak in coalition events. And yeah, here we go. 15 mana every single turn for Dak. I mean, it just seems like a bit too much to me. Does it not? Definitely one of the top tier planeswalkers just got an enormous boost. And it's not even like, you know, he's got a problem finding these things. He's got a very cheap ability which draws cards. So, you know, gumming up your deck with lands is not really an issue because he can just keep filtering through and finding things. I feel like this was a bad mistake. We will see. We will see. I mean, as I say, really I'm only worried about Grist in coalition events at the moment. If this means I become worried about fighting Grist and Dak in coalition events, maybe that's even a good thing, you know. Maybe one more planeswalker becoming a valid threat and making my experience a little more varied. Maybe that even becomes a good thing. But I don't know. I can't quite get over the fact that they nerfed Cryptex, because it was too good and then made a whole bunch of lands that are much, much better than Cryptex. It really smacks of just trying to sell cards, doesn't it? Anyone else play this? Ral? Ral can play. Does anyone still play Ral? I think Madren still plays Ral every so often. There's Ral. There's the other Ral who's quite good at going creatureless. But I think mostly this is a card for Dak, isn't it? We'll get to Grist when we get to Grist. Your creatures gain persist until end of turn. I mean, what a waste of time that is. Again, it's got the flash thing, hasn't it? You can see what the paper card is. And you can see why it's pointless in this game. Sends enlistment 2 Kithkin soldier tokens with retrace. I mean, that could be a lot more powerful, couldn't it? Honestly, they could make that like 2 mana, couldn't they? Couldn't they? That could be 2 mana. Would that be too good? No, I don't think that would be too good at 2 mana. Have I talked about this before? One of the reasons I thought that... I wrote a post about this a little while ago about power creep and about why they should power creep the cheapest creatures in the game. The worst creatures and cards in the game, they should power creep them up to make them just a little bit more relevant. Is because of story mode, you know. It's like we all remember, all of us who remember starting playing in 2016, and even before then, remember, you know, one of the first thing you do is you worked your way through this huge, long story mode, and you were having to play with these very crap cards, and but you know, it was still tough beating your opponent's deck. Certainly, it was tough getting some of the objectives sometimes because you had nothing. You'd started from nothing. You're working your way up. And the thing is, if they try to power creep shit cards when that original story mode existed, they would have had completely obliterated story mode. Everyone would have just walked through it. It wouldn't have been any kind of challenge to the game. And that was an important bit of content, I thought, for new players coming to the game. However, they've since junked story mode, so that reason no longer exists. So I really don't see why they can't just power creep the shit out of all of the worst cards in the game. And starting making something like this cost 2 mana, you know? Because story mode is nothing now, is it? Nobody's interested in story. Story mode is somewhere you go to master your cards now. Story mode is something you do mindlessly to get some more resources now. I'm sure a lot of people much prefer story mode now to how it was before, but it's nothing. There's no gameplay involved in it. It's just a thing that you do to get resources. Power creep the 99%. Hashtag. I'm starting a new hashtag. Chameleon Colossus. What have we got here? Activate 6 green. That's not very in keeping with the theme of the set, is it? This creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Honestly, I'd just make it permanent. Fuck it. I mean, it's a mythic creature, for God's sake. Why the hell not? Is that 2? At 6 green, this creature gets +4/+4 permanently. Why not? I mean, they print Nethergoyf, for God's sake, don't they? You know, we've got Elspeth. Why the hell not? Maybe that's a bit too good. They can't make too many tier 1 cards, can they? I just say, even at +4/+4 permanently, this isn't tier 1, you know. But you do have to make players struggle a little bit. You know, you can't make just when a player opens any booster, they get a card. That's good enough to just rip through every single PvE in the game. And 90% of the PvPs as well. I see that. But you can make this card better than that. Yeah, fuck it. Activate 6 green. This creature gets +4/+4 permanently. That's my card and I'm standing by it. Changeling Sentinel. Yeah, okay. Chaotic Backlash. I mean, it's almost comical, isn't it? How how it's the the Eventide cards have just got the better artwork on. I say that that's probably from Morningtide, isn't it? Elementals. I don't know if that's a Eventide card, but yeah, the Eventide cards just have the better art, don't they? What do we got here? Can't have his mana drained or raised. We don't care. Deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker for 10 mana. Get fucked. Cinder Pyromancer. Activate 3. Deal 2 damage to your opponent. Doesn't this deal damage to creatures in paper? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just goes tap, deal damage to your opponent in paper. But obviously worthless. Have it be a cog. Why not? We haven't seen one of those cogs in a while. Just have it say, you know, when you play a spell, deal 2 damage to your opponent. And then don't even put one of those limits on it that says you can only do this 5 times a turn. Yeah, have it be one of those. Why not? Cloak and Dagger. How are we doing? I reckon we've probably gone for about an hour and a half. I think we probably have gone for about an hour and a half. So let's get up to this rare I can see. Peeping on the... Oh, it's going to be one of those +X cards. Never mind. We'll make that the last card anyway, and then we'll launch into part 2 sometime soon. Cloak and Dagger. When you cast a rogue creature for the first time each turn, yes, hello Marvo, you're a rogue. That creature gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until the beginning of your next turn. I mean, they do seem to have... No, it's not doing it permanently, is it? There's room in the game for an equipment that gives something hexproof permanently. We always end up with... It's either only doing it for a turn, or it's triggering at the start of the turn, so it's not giving the creature hexproof straight away. Just while on the battlefield, they have the template for it now. They can just say, while on the battlefield, your first creature gets hexproof. All your creatures get hexproof. Yeah, fuck it. Didn't I come up with that card during the last set review, in fact? Anyway, not interested in that. So here's the last one. Here we go. Clout of the Dominus. Target creature gets +4/+4. If creature's blue, it gains hexproof permanently and haste. I mean, that's... Okay. Okay. I mean, if it wasn't so easy to kill creatures that had hexproof, which I'm afraid it is, I mean, you could do better than hexproof and haste, couldn't you? But, yeah, as a package... We don't care. We'd much rather this was an equipment, in fact. We'd much rather your first creature gets +4/+4 and hexproof and haste. That would be slightly better. Maybe some people would even play that then. Should we do another one? Let's do another one. Card. This is definitely the last card now. Yeah, look, I can see there's a common card on the end there. This is definitely the last card now. What have we got? 10 mana, 1/1. Landfall blue. This creature gains unblockable. Jeez. Really? Really? Landfall blue? When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, draw that many cards. I mean, okay, I guess. Some people might be excited by this. Only people who've not seen Loot. Or, what's he called? Cruel Claw. Yeah, there you go. Or even Dragonhawk, you know. But yeah, okay, if you want to draw X cards rather than drawing one card, why not? You know, none of them got mana, so it's not going to break the bank in any way, is it? Okay, so I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you all for being in, if indeed you are all in. Oh, look, there's Sarah. Sarah's just come into the chat. When I say just come in, she probably came in ages ago. The reason why she walked in through the door about 10 minutes ago is probably because she tried to say hello in the chat. And I just wasn't paying attention. Hello. So I'm just about to call it a day, in fact.
Oh, hello.
So, hello. Thank you, everybody, for being in. We'll do what is... I honestly don't know when we're going to do...
Thanks, birds.
Yeah, thanks for being in. I honestly don't know when we're going to do part 2. Because, frankly, I started a little bit late today. Didn't I? It was like 3:30 in the morning today.
Was it?
I think it probably was, yeah. So, I don't know. Just watch out for notifications and things. Or alternatively, you know, just watch out for my channel and don't watch it live, you know.
Like and
Just see it.
subscribe.
Yeah, do that stuff. Yeah, whatever. And yeah, you can like and subscribe if you like, I suppose. But yeah, just keep half an eye on the notifications. I will try and do part 2 fairly soon. And thank you all, and that will be it for today.